Okay, so let's start. First, you'll need to drag the prop onto the base of your avatar, onto the root. Scale it to the correct proportions that you want to have it at. And now we need to create two empty game objects at the two positions where you would like it to be. For one, I would like my sword to be on the hip. I'll call it prop hip pose. And another one at the right hand. I want to be able to grab my sword from the hip with my right hand, and then it goes over to my right hand. So we navigate there, right wrist, empty game object, and rename it to prop hand pause. Now you will have to select your prop and add a parent constraint. Here you add two sources and drag in both the position empty game objects that we just created. The prop hip pause and prop hand pause. For now, let's make the hand position to 0, this to 1. Click on the 0 button and activate. What this does is, if we move the prop hip position around, the prop, or the sword, will follow it around. Now we need to put this prop hip pause into the position where you want it to be. Do not move the prop itself. Only move the empty game objects that are in the constraint sources. All right, I want my sword to be somewhere around here. We go and select the prop again and change the sources on the hip to 0 and hand to 1. And now we do the same thing here. Adjust the position of the empty game object so that the prop is placed correctly. Okay, now that we have that done, switch it back to the default position, which is the hip. Now we need to make an animation where we switch the constraint settings. We select our avatar, window, animation, animation, and create a new one here. Call it prop hip. Press and record. Choose your prop and make sure if it's already at the position where you want it to be, change it back to where it should be, so that in the animation you have the correct settings. The prop hip position source is 1, the prop hand position is 0. Make another animation called prop hand, and here we do the reverse. Prop hip position is 0, prop hand position is 1. As you can see, the sword is now in the hand. Now that we have that done, select your avatar again and remove the animation we just created from the controller here. And now we need to work with contacts. I want to be able to grab this if my right hand reaches for the handle at my hip. So on the hip, I create another new empty game object and call it prop contact, and add a component called contact receiver. This thing we need to scale down a little bit. 0.05 should be about it. And because it's an empty game object, we can just move it around with the arrows here and move it to the position where you want to be able to grab it. This seems about right. Now we need to disable the collision for others. We only want it for ourselves. And add a collision tag. I want hand R. I want to be able to grab it with my right hand. We need to give it a name. I call it grab. So whenever my right hand enters this contact receiver, it will set the parameter grab to 1. Now we need to head over to our FX layer. In here, we need to create a new parameter, a boolean, called exactly the same as the parameter we just defined in the contact. In this case, grab. So if we go over here to the contact receiver, this is grab, and this needs to be grab as well. Create a new layer. We can call it however we want. Prop, grab, and set its weight to 1. Now we need to drag in the prop hip position first, our default state. We want it to be here by default, and then the prop hand state. Now we can make a transition from one to the other and the other way around. And now we need to make a condition. So per default, it will always play the prop hip animation. It will have the prop at your hip. And we want to put it in our hand if the grab parameter is true. So if our right hand is in that contact receiver. But we also want to limit it if our gesture on our right hand equals 1, which is fist. So if we put our right hand into the contact on the handle of the sword and have a fist, then it will go over to prop hand, to this animation, and switch the constraint settings, and now your sword will be attached to your hand. How do we get it back to our hip? First of all, we also want grab to be true. So if our right hand is inside of that contact receiver, but our right hand gesture should be not equal 1. So if we grab onto the handle with a fist, then it will go in our hand. And if we have our right hand into the contact receiver without a fist, like an open hand or something else, it will go back and stay on the hip. At the moment, everything will be a little bit slow. We need to change some settings here. Disable has exit time, and I like to set the transition duration to something like 0.01. You can also set it to 0. I just don't like it if it is instant. And now it will go from one state to the other very quickly. All right, that's already it. I hope this works for you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. I hope I could help you, and I wish you all a good day. Bye bye.